So today we'll talk about the Pancha Kosha, or the five sheaths that cover the self. You might remember the three layers of reality or three levels of reality that we talked about in an earlier video. I'll link it up somewhere on the top. But this is more about the self, the five sheaths that cover the self. So let's get started. The first layer is the very obvious one. It is the Annamaya Kosha, which is the physical body. This is what most people consider as the self. This body, this face, my hands and legs, these are what people call as the self, right? This is what you consider as you. So this is the Annamaya Kosha, or the physical body that covers the self, that makes you falsely believe that this is the self. And how is this false? Because it keeps changing, right? You were born as a small baby, but now you're this big man or a big woman, and you'll grow older, your hair will turn white, your physicality changes, your appearance changes, and of course, one day you die, right? And long before that, you were unborn. So this is false because it keeps changing, right? You can't call it as you because you keep changing, right? And if the you keeps changing, is it even you? No, because you were you even when you were a baby, even when you were an adult, right? So the body keeps changing. It is not you. This is the first layer that covers the self, but it is not the self, the physical body. The second sheath or the second layer is the Pranamaya Kosha, or the energy body. You might think this body keeps changing, but maybe we're just all energy, right? What is different between us and inanimate matter is that we have energy, right? We have volition. We can move from here to there. We can eat food and it becomes energy, and we can move things and we can do actions, right? We have prana. Prana just means life force. So maybe this life force is me. This is the true me, maybe the energy body. But that is also false. That is also just a layer that covers the self. How is that? Because even energy keeps changing, right? You eat food and you work. And once you work, the energy gets depleted, right? Then you eat more food, and all of that gets converted into energy. Your biology converts it all into energy, and then the energy is expended, right? So this also keeps changing. You can get more of it and you can lose it as well. But the you remains the you, right? Even when you're low on energy, you are still you. Even when you're brimming with energy, you are still you, right? So this energy body is also not you. This is also just a layer that covers the self, falsely identified as the self sometimes. The next layer is the Manomaya Kosha, or the mind body. You can just call it the mind. By now, you've understood that you're not the body and you're also not just energy, right? Then what makes you you? You would think that maybe it's what I know, my thoughts. Maybe my thoughts are me. I am what I think I am. All of my experience since my childhood, that is all uniquely mine. So maybe all of that is me, right? Maybe the mind is me, but even that is not true. Because what if you lose a part of your memory? What if you meet with an accident and you lose your memory? Would you still not be you? Maybe you don't have your memories, but you will still be experiencing, right? You will still experience the world through your senses, through your body, and you'll collect new experiences. And even if we disregard this example of losing your memory, you are constantly every day making new memories, replacing old memories, or just generating, imagining new stuff. Even if you don't experience anything, the mind has the capacity to generate new experiences through imagination, right? All of that keeps changing every moment, but you still remain as you. So your mind is also not you. This is also a false assumption of the self. This is also not self. The next sheath that covers the self is the Vigyanamaya Kosha, or the wisdom body. By this time, you understand that you are not the physical body, you are not the energy that you have, neither are you the mind, your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, none of that. And now maybe you understand that I am just this knower. I just know that I am none of this. Maybe just this feeling of knowing, this feeling of understanding is me. Even that is not me. Because even before you knew that you are none of this, even then you were you, right? So your wisdom body is also not the true you. Many people, they understand how they're not the body, not the mind, not the energy. And by knowing this, they think they have known the self. But still, they are assuming a separate knower, a unique individual knower that they think of as the self. But even before they didn't know this, they were still themselves, right? They still were experiencing things. They were still themselves. So even the wisdom body is not you. Even the Vigyanamaya Kosha is just a layer, just a sheath covering the self. Now, the final layer that covers the self is the Anandamaya Kosha, or the bliss body, just the bliss body. And now that you know you cannot be identified with anything that you consider as your own, that none of this is you. And it's a liberating feeling, right? That there is no specificity to you. It is true freedom from everything. And you experience this bliss because all of the tensions, all of the pain and the suffering was happening to the body or the mind, right? But you are none of this. So the death will happen to the body. The body was born. Energy also cannot be destroyed, neither can it be created. It just gets transferred from one form to another. The mind too is just information. Just as you experience, you can gain more information. And none of this is you. This liberates you. And it's a very blissful experience. It is not the joy of finding something as the self, but rather the joy of being liberated. It's a liberating feeling, which is known as bliss. This is your bliss body. But this bliss body is also not the self. How is this not the self? Because there is still the experiencer. There is still the duality of the experiencer and the experience. You are still experiencing bliss. You are still the experiencer who is having an experience. So there is duality still. And this is also not accurately the self, the non-dual self. While reaching the bliss body is a tremendous achievement, it frees you, it liberates you from all the bondages and sufferings of the world, but yet it is not the self. It is not accurately the self, because still there is the duality of the experiencer and the experience. And this is the final layer. By knowing that the final layer is also just a layer, you can know the self as the undivided existence there is. There is no individual self and there is no separation in reality. Existence is just one non dual reality. It is one undivided whole. That is reality. That is the true self. There is no separation in it. There is no need to specifically identify an individual self. And by knowing everything that you can identify as a layer, as a sheath that covers the self, you can unmistakably know the self. Know the self as none of these things. That is the non dual reality. That is the true self. So ask this question to yourself: who do you think you are? Who do you identify as? Was it ever born? Will it ever die? Is it truly unchanging? Think about it. Think about it.